And we're coming to you live this afternoon from Garden City Beach, South Carolina, where one of the heavier bands of Idalia is now starting to push in close to the Grand Strand of South Carolina as it moves into Myrtle Beach. You can see the wet winds and the wind and the rain really starting to whip. We'll have live reports all hour here on WFMY.
And we are tracking it every step of the way. This storm just now starting to enter the Carolinas with wind still at hurricane strength. What that storm will mean for us here, but also at the coast. We're on top of it.
Meanwhile, in Florida, Hurricane Idalia is contributing and actually causing record-breaking storm surge, especially around the Big Bend of Florida. Floodwaters are rising and the power is out for thousands. We'll get a closer look in just a minute. Welcome to the 4 to 5. Eric Chilton here with Chad Silver and Sydney Moore. We have lots to talk about today.
My goodness.
Absolutely. It's definitely the top conversation for many throughout our area.
And I know, for us here, not really minimal impacts, but everybody likes a place on the coast.
Yeah, from Fayetteville to the coast, that's where we'll see the biggest impact.
All right, we'll check on that in just a minute. The big story this afternoon, however, new developments in the mold situation at Alamance Burlington schools. The district revealed today it has found toxic mold at 2 schools. This is the first time since the mold saga began.
They say they found the mold at Cummings High and Broadview Middle School. The fungus called Chetumium was found after air quality tests. The mold is one of the most common types and it's usually found in water damaged or damp homes. This type of mold can cause infections, allergic reactions, and asthma.
It comes as the district is racing to open schools for the first day next week. Last night, the district shared the plans for staff at 9 schools relocating prior to the first day. The district says at least 17 schools have been impacted by mold. District and local leaders met for hours today again to figure out a plan.
The largest concern is the cost for it all. WFMY News 2's Giselle Thomas attended the meeting and joins us live with your bandstand.
After a 3-hour meeting, the district approved $5 million in funds. Now, some of that money comes from capital reserves and lottery funding to aid and repair 6 schools. Now, as for cleanup at Cummings and Broadview, where the black mold was found, that will come from $3.5 million that was approved on a meeting Monday night. But there's still more funds that's needed. Now, the district says that 17 schools are affected to some degree with mold. Today and tomorrow, they are planning on walking through schools, checking air quality, and perform surface mold testing. Now, those results are still being determined. The mold company removal estimates the removal of mold throughout the entire district to cost $20 million. Now, some parents say the district needs to do whatever it takes.
I want our district to finally put their politics aside and fund our children, fund our schools. And that is something that has systematically not been done for at least the last 20 years. There are children who this week do not have access to food because our schools are closed.
Now, I want to clarify that the $20 million is a ballpark estimate, and there are still lots of factors at play, including the district finishing all the testing and really understanding how much work needs to be done. Now, the district says they want to get students back in class by September 5th, but some students may be transported to other district buildings. And for money, the district plans to meet again upcoming this Friday at 3 p.m. Live in Alamance County, Giselle Thomas, WFMY News 2.
Giselle, thank you. Now to our other top story this afternoon. Hurricane Idalia crashed ashore this morning in Florida as a dangerous Category 3 hurricane. The storm surge is submerging parts of the Gulf Coast. Homes and streets in Cedar Key are now underwater from a surge forecasters say could hit 16 feet. More than 230,000 people are without power.
The eye of the storm has already cleared Florida and is turning through Georgia. Even though the storm is losing strength, forecasters warn it is still a major threat. Meantime, our state says emergency operations will remain in effect around the clock until Idalia is no longer a threat.
And not to bury the lead here, we're going to be okay here in the Triad, but we are watching it. If you look out your window right now, the clouds, they are from Idalia. We also are starting to see some rain get a little bit closer. Let me show you the stats on the system. The eye, or really what's left of it, the center of circulation, pretty close to Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, not that far away. Wind speeds top now at about 75 miles per hour. I would expect by 5 o'clock this is downgraded to a tropical storm. Look at South Carolina, pretty much blanketed in rain across the entire state. Not the case for for us just yet, but we are seeing some of those heavier bands moving in the South Carolina coast. We did see Christian at the beginning of the newscast. Looks like they're getting in the thick of it, and that is expected. Tornadoes are a problem too in the coastal Carolinas. That's Charleston. They have a tornado warning pretty close to Summerville along I-26. Latest wind gusts in that region between about 35 and 55 miles per hour. Again, we're not talking local here. For us, we just have dry weather across most of the Triad currently, but we are starting to see some rain. It's in Montgomery County, southern Randolph. That's edging closer and closer, and by dinner time and certainly by the evening, that's when we could start to expect a little bit of rain around here. But there's a sharp cutoff. If you're in the foothills, you might not get much of any rain with this system, whereas Greensboro, Winston-Salem around a quarter of an inch to half an inch might be possible. Farther south you go, the more rain you'll get, but all of us are dry by tomorrow. We have the sun coming out by midday Thursday. It'll also be one of the most beautiful days we've had in a long time. Bottom line, our winds, not a huge problem, 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts. Some could be a little higher. Rain, really not a problem. No flood threat whatsoever for us. But at the coast, tropical storm conditions are likely, and tornadoes, as I just showed you, they're possible. We'll be tracking that from here in the Piedmont. Our weather's beautiful once we get past about 8 a.m. tomorrow. It'll be a breezy day of weather, highs in the mid 70s, low humidity, one of the nicest Labor Day weekends in recent memory.
Tim, thanks. As you know, there is a state of emergency in North Carolina as well. It helps with the transportation of supplies and prohibits price gouging.
Duke Energy is also preparing in advance for the storms. Crews are currently in Florida, and some crews are even heading to Wilmington just in case it gets bad.
Yeah, the Greensboro Fire Department also on standby as well. So it's headed in our direction. Meteorologist Christian Morgan joins us now live from the South Carolina coast area just south of Myrtle Beach. Christian.
I'll tell you guys, we are in Garden City Beach, South Carolina, of course, which is just south of Myrtle's Inlet, Surfside Beach, and then, of course, you move up into Myrtle Beach. And one of those heavier bands, one of those stronger bands of Idalia is now starting to move into Garden City. So we've really seen the wind pick up, probably gusting about 30 miles per hour, so nothing crazy right now. But really, really heavy rain, torrential rain, as we're just out beside the beach. One thing I want to point out to you, and that we'll talk about here coming up, is if you look out towards the beach, you notice these almost man-made dunes, and that's what they are. If you remember, just about a year ago, the remnants of Hurricane Ian came through here and really washed out a lot of those dunes. So with the beach still being a bit exposed and really not a lot of time to recover, they don't have a whole lot of sand to help build that up. So what they've done, the city of Horry County and Garden City, of course, have come in and built those man-made dunes to help kind of hopefully not make it the flooding is so bad. Of course, we have a supermoon, a full moon, so we have king tides already starting to flood parts of Garden City. And of course, with the biggest chunk of Idalia coming in, that's going to bring more water and more storm surge in. Of course, we'll be here covering it all for you tonight through tomorrow morning.
Christian, thank you. The best way for you to stay up to date with all the changes with our weather is by downloading the free WFMY News 2 app. We will keep an eye on the storm and send alerts right to your phone.
We begin the 4 to 5 roundup today with a somber moment at UNC. The bells rung at 1:02 p.m., the minute the university learned of a shooting there Monday afternoon. It came as students have been adding flowers and other mementos to a growing memorial at the bell tower for Associate Professor Zhu Jinyan. He died after investigators say a graduate student shot him. Tonight there will be a candlelight vigil for Yen on campus starting at 7:30.
There's now a plan in place for North Carolina residents who fell victim to EBT scams. Last week, the state canceled the cards of more than 7,000 people that were impacted. That number is now up to 9,000. If you were affected, you can now request a reimbursement for stolen benefits by making a submission to your county Department of Social Services. This only affects people who lost their money between October of last year through August 25th of this year. You have until September 27th to request your refund.
Local community college students got the chance to present a recent project to experts in their field. They shared their engineering projects with leaders from Toyota Battery Manufacturing and the Forge Greensboro Makerspace. Over the summer, 17 students from GTCC and Randolph Community College completed manufacturing classes. It's part of a recent partnership in hopes of providing students with on-the-job training.
We're continuing to keep an eye on Hurricane Idalia. We'll be right back.
The ACC has officially completed its move to Charlotte. As you know, the headquarters had been in Greensboro for decades until leaders voted last September to move it. The ACC raised its conference flag yesterday along with all 15 schools during a ceremony at the new office. The new headquarters are in Bank of America Tower in uptown Charlotte.
Oh, the day has come, huh?
Sadness for all the longtime ACC fans. It is for me. I mean, I'm glad it's still in our state, but it is, that's bittersweet.
Yeah, I will say, just in light of everything, I always look forward to seeing all of the different mascots come together to take a fun picture. But yeah, I know it'll be missed here in Greensboro for sure.
Sure will. And you know, I mean, I have friends that worked for the ACC and decided to not move to Charlotte. You know, they just pursued another career. I mean, sometimes when you have kids and stuff, people have to make that decision. It is the biggest city in the state, so it makes sense. And from an airport standpoint, I understand.
Yeah, I'm still sour about the decision. I honestly don't want to talk about it anymore. I just want to put it to bed. I understand why it's happened, but still kind of sour about it.
Got to move on, yeah. Nothing we can do. All right, well, speaking of sports, it's that time again. Football, it's back, and our friends at Wake Forest University are really ready to elevate the fan experience. I spoke with the Associate Athletic Director for Fan Experience, Corey Raymond, to find out what we'll see at their season opener, which, by the way, is tomorrow night.
Really the big things, Fan Zone outside of Gate 1 in Deektown, where I'm currently at. You know, this is your beer garden, your live band, your bounce houses for the kids, and everything in between. So if you don't have your own tailgate, come on over to Gate 1 in the Fan Zone in Deektown, and we'll get you set up and have a great time. In-game wise, you know, we're celebrating a Legacy Stadium and our naming rights deal with them. So we'll have a number of dedications throughout the game. We're also celebrating our national championship from our women's golf team this past spring as well. We even have a parachute team coming in during pregame, so fans can expect a little bit of surprise from the sky there.
Yeah, the fan experience obviously at the top of the list for Wake, along with the athletics. And while they have lots of fun and surprises, they say really the subtle nuances are just as valuable.
I think it comes down to the little things. You know, we're really excited to welcome in Proof of the Pudding, our new concessionaire, and it has such a huge impact on their game day experience. And so now you come to a game at a Legacy Stadium, you have elevated food menu items, there's grab and go stations. It's the little things that are really impactful and really big for our fans.
All right, I'm interested well, I wish I could make it out there to go and see the parachute team that he was talking about. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, they're doing it right. You know, they're doing it up. He said we have some big surprises coming up for the fans, but it's kind of the little things, new food, upgraded food. He said we have grab and go stations where you can come in, get food quickly and take off. And really, they have turned it into almost like professional sports. You know, we have so many things going on around. It's just as much the event as it is the athletic event.
I am obsessed that there is a position called the Associate AD of Fan Experience. How cool is that?
What a great idea. You said you'd be a cruise director one day for social.
By golly, I need to be an Associate AD of Fan Experience. That is so cool.
Appalachian State, that's what you should do.
I mean, but what a great idea. I mean, if you think about it, people know where they're going to get a good fan experience when they go to certain stadiums. Certain stadiums probably lacking. So it's good to have someone dedicated to making sure that that experience is top notch, because then you get people coming back for more.
And when it comes to sports, it's nothing like the fans. I mean, it's just nothing like it. It's a top notch experience.
Well, they said their goal is to be the best fan experience in North Carolina. So
that's cool.
We'll see how it goes. All right, before we go to break, let's take a peek real quick, see what's happening along our coast.
continue to track Hurricane Idalia. Here's a live look at where the hurricane is heading off the South Carolina coast. This is Kiowa Island. You can see the wind blowing the trees and waves crashing against the shore. Right now, Georgia is seeing heavy rain. The storm made landfall earlier this morning in Florida as a Category 3 hurricane. Tim, has the storm changed its track?
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. It's good that we have been pretty consistent, honestly. The track really hasn't changed all that much over the last couple of days. That shot you just saw right there starting to look a little bit more like a tropical storm, doesn't it, as you get closer to Charleston. Now, the funny thing is a lot of the heavier rain is actually not at the immediate beaches, but a little bit inland in parts of South Carolina. Still technically a hurricane. I would expect by 5 o'clock at the latest advisory, it will be downgraded to a tropical storm. We're watching the radar, of course. Not much rain here locally, really none of it yet, but eventually in the next couple of hours, we will start to see some of that ticking northward and getting closer to the Triad. One thing they're watching carefully at the coast in South Carolina is a tornado threat. They've had several warnings down there. Another thing you have to worry about at the beaches is what we call storm surge. That's when the water gets up from the ocean a little bit higher than usual. They could see a 3 to 5 foot surge in the Charleston area, 1 to 3 in the Wilmington area and Myrtle, and a little bit higher than that closer to New Bern in those areas. Wind gusts right now in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, Savannah down to Georgia. Not as high in South Carolina yet, but that should increase a little bit. Here's your futurecast. We see rain increasing from south to north in our area, but we're not getting much, maybe a quarter to a half an inch in Greensboro, a little bit more as you go farther south, and as much as 5 to 6 inches down closer to Wilmington. The storm will be moving very quickly out of our area, and part of that reason is for a cold front just to our north. By tomorrow morning when you're waking up, we're already cooling down. It'll be in the 60s. Throughout the day tomorrow, it will stay in the 70s. You will have sunshine. It will feel like fall. We haven't had much of that yet, but that fall feel is going to last for a while. I have us with lows in the 50s for the first time in 2 months. That's what we're going to be seeing. That's Friday morning, Saturday morning too. One of the best weekends you can imagine. Highs will be in the 70s and 80s. Lows will be in the 50s and 60s. Lots of comfort to go around by Labor Day in our area.
Tim, thank you. As our state prepares for tropical impacts, your go-to resource should be the News 2 app. Our weather team is consistently named most accurate in the Triad. Our app is the best way to get their forecasts and any severe weather alerts.
Welcome back. Travel has boomed this summer, and it appears the rest of the year will be just as busy compared to 2022. Reports on what's expected and when you need to book for the holidays.
Victoria and Emra Bilgin from Potomac, Maryland, headed for France this summer, along with millions of Americans who flocked to Europe despite dramatically higher airfares.
America's getting more expensive and it's cheaper to go abroad.
They stayed at the film and fashion-focused Hotel Martinez in Cannes, which we also visited for a special rate. It boasts spacious suites overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, including penthouses with a couple of the largest terraces in Europe, art installations, a new spa, and a hopping retro beach club.
In terms of Americans, we see that the number is even greater than in 2019, so they are really back.
Forecasts show worldwide travel is also going to be busy the rest of the year.
More than 5,000 travel industry professionals recently gathered here at Bellagio in Las Vegas for Virtuoso Travel Week. The luxury travel network expects to see sales around the world up almost 50% compared to last fall.
And yes, travelers should already be thinking about the holidays. Virtuoso finds sales and bookings for December 17th through January 7th are up 17% compared to last year.
This holiday season, we expect the rates to be equal to what they were last year, if not even a little bit higher.
Some destinations will offer a bit more value the rest of the year. Virtuoso expects this fall rates will be down slightly in Athens and decrease significantly in Palm Beach, Florida, and Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And over the holidays, travelers can look for cheaper rates in New York and Vail, Colorado, and substantial savings in Los Angeles.
You should already be booking your holidays because there is so much demand for this year that everything is filling up very quickly.
If the beach beckons this holiday season, Virtuoso predicts Mexico, Costa Rica, and the Caribbean will be filling up with Americans.
And Virtuoso also finds culinary and wellness travel are increasing in popularity this year as well, too.
I think we should support that and go to the Caribbean this fall. That's what I think we should do. I saw that 50% drop in LA. Like that's,
Right.
I have a New York trip in October, but maybe I should change to the left coast because that's big.
See, I am already stressing about holiday travel. So it's always very expensive for me to fly into my little remote area of Wisconsin, but I've been looking at flights. They're $1,600
Goodness.
to go to Wisconsin.
Goodness.
I booked a flight to Europe
Wow.
coming up in a couple of months that wasn't even $1,000. Like, how crazy is it that it's 50% more to stay within the contiguous 48? It stresses me out.
I think Ben Briscoe said he got that Paris flight he got for like $500 round trip per person.
I remember, I
That's crazy.
remember hearing him say that. That is pretty
I would do that.
Right, I mean, yeah, if you have flexible travel
Yeah.
plans, that's the way to go.
It's very nice. Right, book your plans right now.
That's right. Well, another look at the South Carolina coast as we go to break.
They're going to mic check you. Stand by.
Gusty winds, probably about 40 miles per hour so far. Heavy rain, although it has let up here in the last 5 minutes.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Eric Chilton, Sydney Moore, Chad Silber, Tim Buckley. We're lots to say today.
Yeah, busy,
Yep.
huh? With weather.
Yeah, we got all eyes on Hurricane Idalia, of course. Major problem for Florida, more minor up here. But a lot of eyes in our part of the world are on our coastal friends and neighbors on what they're dealing with.
Yeah, Hurricane Idalia has been unleashing life-threatening wind and rain across parts of Florida and Georgia. Check out the famous River Street in Savannah, Georgia. Right now, the southeastern part of the state are feeling the brunt of the storm as it pushes toward the Carolinas.
We want to keep an eye out on flash flooding and potentially riverine flooding. We don't know about that yet. This storm is moving faster than people had anticipated. That means we're going to get some stronger winds than we thought we were going to get, but maybe less rain.
The state says emergency operations will remain in effect around the clock until the storm is no longer a threat.
WFMY News 2's Christian Morgan is live at Garden City as the hurricane makes its way up the coast. Christian, what's it like right now?
I'll tell you guys, we've really seen some heavy rain and gusty winds, probably around 40 miles per hour over the last 5 to 10 minutes. Since we last talked a few minutes ago, we're at least a bit calmer now. Of course, as those bands push through, we'll have more heavy rain, we'll have more gusty winds on the way. One thing I want to point out to you is we're in Garden City this afternoon. Notice these man-made dunes that they've actually been preparing at the beach here over the last week. If you remember, about a year ago, Hurricane Ian rolled through here and, of course, caused lots of flooding concerns. So the beach hasn't really been able to be rebuilt back up in enough time to prepare for this. So what the city of Garden City Beach has done is come in and made those dunes themselves. And we spoke to Thomas Bell with Horry County Emergency Services. He talked a little bit about that and their preparation for this week.
Immediately following Hurricane Ian last year, we did what we could to rebuild our dune system in the areas that we were able to. Of course, we do not have as much sand, as much, I would say, width of beach as we are normally used to heading into a hurricane season, especially peak season right now. But what the county always does is whenever we do have a storm threatening us and there is that risk of storm surge, we do put up emergency sand berms at our beach accesses just to help break some of that water so that it doesn't have as clear of a route into the road systems and things like that.
Yeah, and Thomas stressed that right now there are no evacuation orders, there are no curfew orders in place for Horry County tonight. Of course, he did urge residents and travelers here. I know a lot of folks from the Triad come and vacation here and maybe on the way this weekend. He said just be mindful, be safe tonight, use your brain, and just know it's probably best to stay inside tonight. I will tell you, I want to point this out real quick, Crosby, if you can show this. Just in the last few minutes, as it has calmed down a minute, we've seen some folks kind of run out of their beach house to at least take a couple minutes in on the beach, but I can assure you they'll be back inside very soon. Of course, this area here in Garden City is very prone to flooding and storm surge, so we'll be watching that carefully. And of course, we'll have live reports for you all evening and again tomorrow morning.
Christian, appreciate that report so much. I believe high tide coming up closer to 8 o'clock this evening. That's always of interest on the front side of these storms. You get that push of water from the ocean, and high tide can make it a little bit worse, especially with the full moon like we're seeing right now. It is still technically a hurricane. Wind speeds are at 75 miles per hour, although the weakening trend should continue pretty quick, and we should see it drop off to tropical storm status. We'll get another update at 5 p.m. from the Hurricane Center. Here locally, it's been sluggish, but rain slowly but surely getting a little closer to our Triad areas. Down south, where Christian was reporting up in the Myrtle Beach area, they've had a couple of breaks. Charleston itself, more breaks, but more of a tornado concern. Several tornado warnings have been popping up down there. At last check, some of the highest wind gusts I could find are in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. That's pretty manageable, to be honest with you. So I think this thing really is weakening at a pretty good clip of speed. Now, Futurecast does have at least a chance for these showers in our region through the evening, through the overnight, and while that's going on, the wind will be picking up. all of us will notice that it's getting windy tonight and windy throughout the day tomorrow. Wind gusts should be in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range, maybe a couple higher than that. But this thing is moving very fast. By tomorrow afternoon, it'll be long gone from everybody, and we'll have sunshine across the Carolinas, partially due to a cold front. The saving grace here, we see it kicking it out to sea. Not only will we be a little cooler, but we'll be sunny, less humid, and feeling like fall. The holiday weekend is looking great. Temperatures in the 50s for the mornings, 70s and 80s for the afternoons. It'll start to get a little hotter by next week.
And Hurricane Idalia almost now a tropical storm as it passes through Georgia and into South Carolina, but it was a powerful Category 3 hurricane when it hit Florida Wednesday morning. Jason Allen takes a look at the moments it came ashore.
Idalia slammed into Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 3 hurricane, packing maximum sustained winds of around 125 miles per hour.
That building on the end down there is going to come apart.
The storm's impact was felt the length of Florida's Gulf Coast, with storm surge that submerged entire communities. Crews in Hernando County rescued this family that couldn't evacuate in time due to car troubles, but they tried.
And over the second bridge, it got real deep real fast, and then the water started coming in like crazy.
In Tampa, people traveled by paddleboard down Bayshore Boulevard. Water washed onto the bridge that connects the city to nearby St. Petersburg. More than 500,000 customers across Florida lost power. By midday, about half had the lights back on.
Utility workers are actively working to restore power in all affected areas.
The Florida governor's mansion did not escape the storm's impact. This 100-year-old oak tree fell on the property.
Oh gosh, it's gotten worse.
A tree also landed on Connie Walden's home in Steenhatchee. She and many of her neighbors chose to not evacuate.
And I've got a lot of people mad at me right now that I didn't.
Even though the storm has mostly moved on from the Big Bend region, forecasters warn the high tide, fueled by a rare blue supermoon, could keep pushing the storm surge higher, up to 16 feet in some places. Idalia reached Georgia as a Category 1 hurricane, knocking out power to tens of thousands.
For those that were in the line of the storm, it is very hard hitting.
Idalia is expected to move into South Carolina by Wednesday evening. Jason Allen, CBS News, Steenhatchee, Florida.
It's so important to have a way to easily get weather alerts. The News 2 app is the best way to do that. You can get alerts from our team in case of bad weather.
All right, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup now. First up today, in a surprising update today from Alamance Burlington schools, the district revealed it's now found toxic mold at 2 schools, Cummings High and Broadview Middle. Up until this point, we've been told the mold found was non-toxic. The district is also now saying it could cost upwards of $20 million to address the mold issues. The district says 17 schools have been affected by some sort of mold growth. Last night, the district shared plans for moving staff ahead of the new year. They've put out that information, or we've put that information on our website. The district says it's still optimistic students will return to classes next Tuesday, but some might be transported to other district buildings.
There was a rally this afternoon at UNC Chapel Hill. Hundreds of students and activists gathered on the campus protesting gun laws in North Carolina. It comes just 2 days after police say a Chapel Hill graduate student killed an associate professor in a shooting. Tonight there will be a candlelight vigil for the professor on Polk Place. Organizers say if it rains, it will be held at the Dean Smith Center. And Guilford County residents who pay their property taxes early can get a 1% discount. The rate will apply to county property and fire district taxes. To get the discount, you must pay your property taxes before they are due on Friday. You can find more information on our website. And before we go to break, here's a live look at the South Carolina coast over in Charleston. We'll be right back.
Hello, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie. They forever go together like a classic combination. back to school week, and for some kids, it's the first back to school ever. So I want to take you back in time. What do you remember about your first day of school?
I was petrified. I was a scared little kid.
I think the night before, I was just excited to wear my brand new outfit. That's,
for
what I was excited about.
I was excited to wear my new outfit, but I was also nervous about who I would sit next to on the bus.
Yeah, that is.
I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. You get on the bus and
you don't know, are they going to be assigned seats? Are you going to get stuck with someone? Is it going to be somebody I know? Is it going to be somebody I don't know?
Will I be bullied on the first day? Will I be the bully on the I'm just kidding.
You were not even worried about that. Okay, I don't have kids, but I have friends who have family. And 20-something years ago, there were, I want you to get this, 6 of us adults that took one child to her first day of class.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, because, that was the first kid in our group. And we were all like, hey, we want to be there too. We want to celebrate.
Right.
So can you imagine being that kid?
No.
Well, they don't get it yet. If they were like 13, then they'd be like, you can't do this.
Maybe so, maybe so. I don't know. Well, that kid is now a first-time teacher.
Oh, wow.
So I went to her classroom to see how she remembers her very first day and then how it played into her being a teacher. What do you remember about the first day of school?
Look at my book bag. It's so big. You guys hyped me up a little bit walking into kindergarten. I was like, I could do this. But that's the thing, I felt capable as a 5-year-old,
To go to school?
Yeah, because I had people who were just around me, supporting me.
I was there as this picture of Lydia and her mom was taken on that very first day. I got to be there as Lydia graduated from high school. And then, we all celebrated when she graduated from App State, most recently with her master's.
Well, I felt called to do it for the longest time. I just didn't know what it was when I was a little kid. I think my teachers represented peace and happiness and just joy. And I knew as a young kid that I wanted to do that.
And now, for the first time, she is. So welcome to Ms. Noonan's 3rd grade class. Just look around her room. It's homey. And the words, they're encouraging, like mistakes mean you're trying and progress over perfection. You think you'll give yourself that kind of grace as a first-time teacher?
I hope so.
There's going to be a lot of times that you're like, oh, I got this today. And then some days that you're going to be like, oh, I don't got this.
Yeah, and that's why I like those right there, so everybody can see them. It's not just them. I can see it too.
I love her outlook.
That's wonderful.
Mistakes mean you're trying. I'm going to take that home with me. I love that.
I know. There were all these things on there. Even she had a grade thing, A, B, C, D. And A was like, hey, you've got this. You know what this is like. Go on to your next challenge. And C was kind of like, hey, you know some of these things, but you need some help on some of these things. So let's figure out how to make it, make sense to you. Instead of yeah, you're average, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a whole different mindset.
I just love the question you asked her too, though. While this is for her students, and you took that question to her, I mean, will you take the same advice that you're giving to your students as well? I think that was beautiful.
Well, because that's really hard when you're doing something for the first time, and you feel like you have all this pressure, and you're like, okay, I want them to know that they can make mistakes, but I can't make a mistake, right?
And it's great to think I'm going to be perfect right off the bat, but there are so many growing pains in everything that we do. So yeah, I think the grace part is very important.
And you guys all have favorite teachers, yes?
Oh, multiple.
And I can see her being a favorite teacher.
Yeah, I would love to be in her class.
I still talk to her. She's now a family friend now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, here's to a great school year. That's right.
Hurricane Idalia is pushing toward the Carolinas this afternoon, and we have seen the conditions increase along our coast. This is a live look in Charleston, where they're now seeing some impacts. A lot of people out there just taking in the conditions. The storm has picked up speed and is already impacting beaches along the coast. Idalia's powerful storm surge is submerging parts of Florida's Gulf Coast. Homes and streets in Cedar Key are underwater from a surge forecasters say could hit 16 feet. At least 230,000 homes and businesses in the area have lost power. Many people there are still dealing from lingering damage from Hurricane Ian less than a year ago.
It's now time to connect the dots. With the hurricane making landfall and heading our way, North Carolina has declared a state of emergency. Here's what you can do now to prepare for the storm.
Parts of the Carolinas could get up to 8 inches of rain, and time is running out to get ready. Let's connect the dots. South Carolina emergency officials encouraging folks to be proactive. First up, double check your emergency kit. It should contain some non-perishable food, water, medications, flashlights, batteries, and a first aid kit. Second, if your home is at risk for flooding, clear your gutters and storm drains now. It'll make a huge difference in making sure floodwaters flow away from your home. Secure outdoor furniture and garden tools. Those things can be downright dangerous if picked up and thrown in the air. Finally, stay informed. The WCNC app is a great place to track the storm as it moves up the Carolina coast. And that is connecting the dots.
All right, so we are preparing for a little rain and a little wind. That's mostly what we're going to see here. For our area of the Carolinas, very different along the coast, but want to show you this radar image right now. Locally, we see some of those outermost bands in our southern counties. Montgomery County, Moore County, you might be getting a little bit of rain right now. It is moving closer a little bit. We're seeing it basically south of 64 in Randolph. Nothing doing in most of the Triad, just cloudy for the moment. But as you can tell here, we're really on that edge of the precipitation when it comes to this storm. We just might not pick up all that much of it. A little bit of rain while you're sleeping. Probably the bigger thing you'll notice is not so much the rain, which will be less than 1 inch for us, but it might be the wind. It does get a bit gustier. Not yet, but overnight tonight, closer to midnight, we're seeing some gusts around 30 miles per hour locally for a long time. We're not talking about once. We're talking about periodically for about 12 hours or so. You could have those winds gusting to around 30, maybe even 40 miles per hour in some of our southeasternmost counties. And it will stay breezy throughout the day tomorrow because it's not just the tropical system pushing on by, it's also a cold front. And those cold fronts often can bring in a gusty breeze, and that's what we see. But it leads to beautiful weather over the course of the weekend. That's good stuff. I want to show you the 7-day. Take a look at this. A little bit of rain early tomorrow morning, staying breezy all day long, but the sun comes out. You'll have it for the middle of the day. Mid 70s for highs, 50s for lows by Friday. That will be cool fall air that you'll be able to enjoy all the way through the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday are good. It does start to get warmer there though. We're back to the mid 80s, even upper 80s by Tuesday and Wednesday. Once Idalia goes away, we're dry for about a week.
And of course, with the rain and wind moving in north into the Carolinas generally, you can stay up to date with all the changes with the weather just by downloading our app. It is totally free, that WFMY News 2 app, in your Play Store or App Store.
College Game Day is on its way. ESPN's iconic college football show is kicking the season off right here in North Carolina. The crew will be in Charlotte for the Duke's Mayo Classic at Bank of America Stadium. The Tar Heels will be taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks to open the season. Shout out to the Gamecocks. The 3-hour show will be at Romare Bearden Park this Saturday starting at 9 a.m.
Yeah, this is Game Day's first appearance in North Carolina since visiting Appalachian State last fall. The appearance in the Queen City will mark College Game Day's 440th episode, and it is the first for a North Carolina versus South Carolina matchup, a true battle of the Carolinas. North Carolina hasn't been the featured game on ESPN show since back in 2010. That was TJ Yates' days and the running back with the best name, Sean Drawn, back for Carolina. Really? Back in those days. Yes.
Well, I'm so excited about this game. The Gamecocks taking on North Carolina. It'll be exciting. College game day will be there. My dad works on the team, so as a family, we're excited. We love football.
You and I need to have a friendly wager for going into this weekend. We need to do that.
I just love college game day experiences. I was there at App State last year when they were there, and I've been, this is probably 3 different college game day experiences. And it just is so cool because it allows you to really be prideful of the university. It's obviously the center of the college sports universe for that moment.
Did you ever do it in Wisconsin, like when you were up?
Yep.
Yes.
When Nebraska actually joined the Big Ten, I was there, and it was the first game, the conference game there. I was actually there for work, reporting for Nebraska, but secretly rooting for Wisconsin.
And it's an all-day thing, too. They get started early with college game day.
So much fun. Well, as we approach Friday football fever, you might be surprised to see some games tomorrow. The varsity games for Mount Tabor against Page and Reidsville against Rockingham County will both be tomorrow. The change isn't because of weather. They were previously scheduled this way ahead of Labor Day weekend. And time is running out to vote for our Game of the Week. The poll closes in 5 minutes. Find the Game of the Week story on WFMYnews2.com so you can vote. We will reveal the winner coming up in the next half hour.
Today I talked to parents. Testing. Today I talked to parents.
We're not off the
who
top,
told me
so
how they're frustrated about the fact that their kids are not in school. That I should stand right there. Yes. Okay. No. We were told we're on different mics.
Mic check. 1 2 3 3 2 1 1 2 3 3 2 1. Mic check. Mic check.
Hello, Idalia is now a tropical storm going northeast through the Carolinas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hi, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey.
Hey, Brett, 10987654
Hi. Oh yeah, that's right. I have a tease.
Sometimes you just need to take a deep breath, especially after hearing about another on-campus school shooting, this time at UNC Chapel Hill. Students and staff frightened, parents worried for their loved ones, and a nation watching all the chaos unfold as we hoped for the best possible outcome. Except this time, a professor lost his life. News no one wanted to hear, especially the professor's family, who many, including myself, are praying for during this difficult time. It's a lot, emotionally and mentally, to have to hear about incidents like this. That's why I want to make sure you are paying attention to your mental health. Yes, we all handle things differently, but it's important to talk to someone if you need support. I'll be honest with you, I used to not know how to ask for help or what I would even say once I got it, but what I've learned is to take your time in finding the best person for you that will make you feel comfortable expressing your feelings. Maybe it's a therapist for some, or a trusted parent or friend for others. Whoever it is, talk to someone and never hold your emotions in. That's just my 2 cents. And that's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
There's a new development in the mold saga at Alamance Burlington schools. We've got team coverage as we're now learning the district found toxic mold for the first time.
UNC standing together. The